Ceremonies issue.
Yes, Senator, we'll just get Ms Chatterjee to join me at the table.
Thank you.
I hope you're not going to table any more photos of
TikToks.
ALP campaign launches.
Thank you, Minister. Ms Foster, I wrote to you on the 3rd of March, following the last round of Senate estimates, to ask about the process for providing the contact details for local members and senators. Can you tell me what process in place the department has to provide those details to federal MPs and senators?
I can, Senator, and I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that we provided contact details to your office to assist them in that regard.
You did.
And Ms Chatterjee can take you through the process as it plays out.
Thank you.
Sneha Chatterjee, Acting First Assistant Secretary, Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs. Senator, we have provided the details of conferees to local councils, to state MPs who have constituents who became citizens, and also federal MPs and federal senators at their request.
Right, so only if any of those groups of people contacts you and asks for the detail, you provide it. You haven't provided it proactively to anyone?
Yep. No, Senator.
And that's in part, Senator, because the purpose for which the information is provided is to welcome new citizens. And so we need someone to tell us that they want to do that rather than just push the information to them. Otherwise, we might not be in keeping with the purpose of the code.
Okay. Can you break down for me in each of those categories how many requests have been made? So firstly from local governments.
Senator, I'd have to check the breakdown. In terms of requests for federal, from both federal MPs and senators, we've received 44 requests. I don't have the breakdown between MPs and senators, but I can get that for you. And local councils, I don't have that breakdown, but local councils would regularly receive that information because they do a number of kind of functions to welcome new citizens to their local area.
Have you done anything to proactively communicate with any of the eligible parties that this process is open to them and available to them, that this is how they should do so?
No, Senator.
Because it's not the normal way in which these details are provided. Normally, as I understand it, but correct me if I'm wrong, it's local councils who have and distribute the information. They send me an email from time to time saying, Senator, here's some contact details for your new constituents. So how would anyone know that they should approach you and ask you in this instance if you didn't tell them?
Senator, local councils regularly communicate, as you have noted, with MPs and senators, and also state upper and lower house MPs. And in that context, we know that they have that ongoing engagement, and we have not proactively provided that information.
So how would a federal MP know, given that they normally just automatically receive it from the council, have some relationship with the council where they provide it to their office, that this time they needed to ask you, otherwise it wouldn't be provided to them?
So, Senator, I think it's a good point that you're making. Let us take that away and make sure that we build that into our processes.
Great, because I mean, it occurred to me that I might need to ask it, given that you held the ceremonies this time when you don't normally, but this is my portfolio area and I'm familiar with it. Most colleagues aren't, and they should all have an equal opportunity to have that information. Has the department provided any information about new citizens directly to the Minister for Home Affairs, except in his capacity as a local member?
The names and details of new citizens? No, Senator.
No. So the Minister hasn't been provided any contact details for anyone outside of his electorate of new citizens?
No, Senator.
No. Okay. And has the Minister for Home Affairs had any involvement in sharing information about new citizens with members and senators?
Senator, the department has provided the lists of new citizens by relevant electorate boundary or LGA to the relevant member who have requested that information.
So I think the answer is not to our knowledge, Senator. We have not been a part of.
Right, and the Minister's office hasn't requested on behalf of, for example, Labor MPs, that you provide all the information to Labor MPs?
They have made the request, any MPs have made the request directly to our ceremonies team.
Okay. None have come by the office, the Minister's office?
Not that I'm aware of, Senator.
Okay. Have all of the 25 ceremonies now been completed?
They have, Senator.
So there's no further ones scheduled?
Not held by the department, Senator,
Yes.
beyond small ceremonies that we may support during the course of the year.
As in, like, those case-by-case ones where someone's got an urgent need to travel overseas or something like that, you mean, or...?
So, for example, Senator, for Australian Citizenship Day, we may hold a special ceremony with Her Excellency the Governor-General. There are, throughout the year, there are small events that are supported by our ceremonies team.
Okay. How many of the... I think in previous estimates you told me there was 12,800 who were eligible to be conferred citizenship at these ceremonies. How many took up citizenship?
The final figure I have, Senator, is 11,916 people, representing 145 nationalities.
Thank you. Do you have a breakdown by nationality?
I don't, Senator, but I can get that for you. We would regularly keep that information.
Thank you, that would be helpful. And do you have the breakdown by local government area of the new citizens?
We would have that information, Senator, perhaps not. We'd have it by ceremony, not perhaps as an overall picture.
You don't know by local government area new citizens? Because you have to contact the councils and provide the information to councils. Surely it's stored in some form that records that?
That's correct, Senator. I would just say I've seen it on a state-by-state basis, and so I don't have it in one document to provide the summary.
To be clear, I'm not asking for nationality by local government area. I'm just asking for number of citizens by local government area.
Yes, Senator, we can pull that together for you.
Okay, thank you. That would be helpful. And so the Minister hasn't proposed any further citizenship ceremonies run by the department?
Not at this stage, Senator.
Thank you. At the last round of estimates, I asked a question which was taken on notice, number AE25020, which was about the timeliness of the invitations to members and senators and whether there was a gap between those invitations. Ms Chatterjee, do you have any further information about that question?
Senator, was it a specific ceremony that you were referring to?
I did ask you about specific ceremonies, and from memory, I think I also asked you just generally to review about the timeliness of invitations to members and senators. Were they invited at the same time or different times?
So, Senator, in broad terms, I think the process for this was that the team wrote out first to the mayors, to the local councils, then to the federal and state, the sitting members, and to a senator in a different party as the sort of first group. And then, as we said, the minister invited some other people and asked the department to ask some other people. And so that's why there would have been a staggering of invitations.
When did the minister ask the department to invite some other people?
Throughout the course of the organisation of the ceremonies, Senator, there was back in the lead up to the actual event being held, the minister or his office may have asked us to extend the invitation to other individuals that we had not yet invited.
And I should be clear, when I said minister, I meant
His office.
His office.
Yes, sure. Who specifically did the minister's office ask you to invite?
Is there a specific ceremony, Minister?
Or I'm interested in all of them. Any specific requests from the minister that the department invite someone?
So, for example, Senator, the Victorian ceremony, the minister's office asked us to invite Senator Henderson, which we did as soon as we were asked.
Right. So prior to the minister's office requesting that you invite Senator Henderson hadn't been invited?
No, Senator.
And had any opposition senator from Victoria been invited to that prior to the minister's request?
My memory, Senator, is to that ceremony. It was the senator from a different party was from the Greens.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
So I had thought that from your first evidence, the local member and a senator from the opposing party, I think was the language you used, the opposition would be invited. But you're telling me in this instance, the local member was invited and a Green senator was invited, but not an opposition senator.
I'm just getting Ms Chatterjee to check that, but while she is Senator, I did, in rereading my evidence last night, note that I had said opposition and I should more properly have said another or a different party.
Right. I mean, can you appreciate, Secretary, why this is not a very good look? That in this instance with the Melbourne ceremony, I think it was a local Labor MP, Josh Burns, who was invited by the department to attend, and then a Green senator was invited to attend, but no member of the opposition, formally designated opposition Alternative Government Australia, was invited to this ceremony.
Until the Minister asked you to.
That's correct, Senator, until Senator Henderson was invited. Ms Chatterjee, have I got the data correct?
Senator, the Victorian ceremony, for example, the Senator for Victoria from the Australian Greens, Senator Hodgins-May, was invited. Her office, the closest to the venue that we had, and was invited by us, and then that was on the 19th of February, and on the 21st of February we invited Senator Henderson as well.
Are you sure that her office is the closest to the venue?
My invite reason here, Senator, says locality. I have not...
Because by coincidence, my office is about, I'm guessing, 500 metres, maybe a kilometre from the venue, and I wasn't invited. So do you want to check that evidence?
Should have been 500 metres closer.
We will, Senator, and again, I hear what you're saying and I take the point.
Is the closest of an electorate office really the best criteria to decide who's coming to a citizenship ceremony? If your objective is to make sure that this is strictly non-partisan?
Senator, I've just said I hear your point.
When was Senator Hodgins-May invited?
They were invited on the 19th of February.
19th of February.
That was for the ceremony in Melbourne on the Monday, the 24th of February.
Yep. And when was Josh Burns invited?
He was invited on the 13th of February.
Right. So that's a big head start for the local Labor MP over the Victorian Green Senator, 6 days. Why was he invited 6 days earlier?
Senator, I just have the dates.
Senator, we'll take it on notice. I think that it would have simply been a matter of the teams working through a large number of ceremonies. But the questions that you have asked have caused us to look at that process.
When was Senator Henderson invited?
The 21st.
The 21st.
Of February.
So we have a Labor MP invited on the 13th of February. We have a Green senator invited on the 19th of February, and we have a Liberal senator invited on the 21st of February. If I'm remembering from the evidence last time, Senator Henderson was invited after the RSVP date, and with, I think it was 5 o'clock on a Friday night that she was invited. Do you really think this is an appropriate administration of this unusual, unorthodox citizenship ceremony process?
Senator, I don't think we can say anything more than we are looking at the process.
There was serious outrage when it was suggested the possibility that there was anything remotely partisan about the administration of these citizenship ceremonies when this issue first emerged. And now we know that local Labor MPs and Green senators were given significant head start in being invited to participate in these ceremonies. In this instance, Senator Henderson wasn't able to attend. I don't know whether it was because of when she was invited or whether she was here, I think might have even been during Senate estimates or a Senate sitting week. That is not really adequate, is it?
So, Senator, I think we've explained that Senator Henderson was invited not as part of our standard process, but as a result of us being requested to invite her, which would account for that time frame.
Yes, after this became notorious in the media.
We invited her as soon as we were requested to invite her, Senator.
Are there any other citizenship ceremonies where it was the local Labor MP and a Green senator who was invited and not anyone from the opposition?
Senator, for the New South Wales ceremonies, the sitting member invited was Miss Sally Situ MP, who is a ALP member, and for the senator, it was Senator Andrew Bragg from the Liberal Party.
Thank you. Any others?
So they were for the New South Wales senator.
Because they were all held at Homebush, I think it was, wasn't it? Within Ms Situ's electorate.
For Queensland senator, the invitations were to the Honourable Stephen Bates MP, the member for Brisbane, who is a Greens MP, Senator the Honourable Murray Watt, Senator for Queensland. So they were the two invited.
Right, so again we have a government senator and a Greens MP, but no coalition senator was invited.
Hang on. We went over this last time, and what was clear by all the evidence last time was that the department had understandably booked large venues which happened to be major convention centres, or if my recollection is correct, the Brisbane one was at Brisbane City Hall. I'm sure Senator Scarr knows that's a major venue that's often used for citizenship ceremonies. It happens to be in the federal electorate of Brisbane, which happens to be held by the Greens Party, something that I don't like either, and I'm trying to change, but that's
We're all
the way
working
it is
on
at the
that,
moment.
Minister.
So I think that explains. I remember making the point that you'd established very conclusively that the department had chosen large venues in which to hold citizenship ceremonies, and some of them were in Labor-held seats, some of them were in Greens-held seats. I can't remember.
Sure, I think you're misunderstanding the point I'm making. In this instance, a Greens MP and a Labor senator were invited, but no coalition MP or senator was invited. So we now have a second ceremony where only Labor and Greens MPs were able to participate and were invited to participate, and coalition or opposition members and senators were not included.
Yeah, and Ms Chatterjee has also given you examples where citizenship ceremonies were held, for instance, in Sydney, where coalition senators were invited.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so just let's come back to this Brisbane ceremony, Ms Chatterjee. How is it that the local MP and the opposition senator, to use the words I was told at the last round of Senate estimates, happened to be a Green MP and a government senator, a Labor Party senator, but not a coalition MP or senator?
So, Senator, I've already said my language was imprecise. I should have said a senator from a different party.
Yeah.
And I've just been confirming this, Ms Chatterjee. One of so having identified the local member, the senator from a different party, one of the criteria that they used was proximity.
Right, so Senator Watt's office closest? I thought you were Gold Coast based.
I've also got one in the city. I don't know what.
As in, you have a CPO office, so you're not alone in that. There are lots of people with CPO offices.
I don't know.
Was Senator Rennick invited? I'm pretty sure his office is in the CPO.
I don't know the basis of the decision making. The department has tried to explain. Ms Foster has acknowledged that some lessons have been learned from this process, but if Greens members hold seats, then they get invited. As I say, I'd like them to not hold seats, but they do. I remember last time we talked about an example where the department was hosting one in Toowoomba, being an LNP held seat. I think I was invited to that as well. I can't remember.
Ceremony was held in a
and Senator
coalition seat.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
James McGrath was also invited to the Brisbane.
When was he invited?
ceremony.
He was invited on the 24th of February. Senator.
And when was Senator Watt invited?
On the 19th of February.
And when was the local member, Mr Bates, invited?
The 13th of February, Senator.
Okay, again, so we have local Greens MP invited on the 13th, local Labor senator invited on the 19th. 5 days later, a coalition senator was invited. That looks like pretty partisan administration of a citizenship ceremony to me. Please explain to me, Ms Foster, why I'm wrong in assuming there has been a partisan reason for such a delayed invitation for a coalition senator.
Because, Senator, that was at the request of the Minister's office.
So when did the citizenship ceremony occur, this one?
Sorry, Senator,
When did it?
it was on the Sunday the 2nd of March.
Right. So, again, why is the department administering this in such a way that gives a leg up on the eve of an election when hundreds of new citizens and new electors are being sworn in to the Greens and the Labor Party over the coalition?
So Senator, we invite the people that we were asked to invite by the Minister's office. I think we typically invited as we were asked to invite them. They were not part of the departmental process.
I know, I'm asking about the departmental process. That's what you're responsible for.
Yes, but the departmental process, Senator, invited the sitting Green and another, a senator from a different party.
Yep.
They were the two decisions of the department, not the invitation.
I know, and that's the problem, Ms Foster.
But I'm going to take a risk here, and I might be proven wrong. It may well be that the member for Groom, being an LNP member, was invited before a Labor senator.
Yeah, OK, well, let's go through all of the ceremonies.
I think the department has acknowledged...
Let's do that, Minister. Let's take you up on that.
The department has acknowledged that this has been an imperfect process.
That's putting it politely.
I'm afraid to disappoint you that the conspiracy you seek to find doesn't exist because...
Okay. So we've talked about Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane.
I do need to share the call in a moment.
Okay.
But Senator, could I just supplement Senator Watt's answer? What I've acknowledged is that we have learnt some lessons in terms of how the logistics work in the team that does the ceremonies, in terms of time between invitations, etc. Not that there was any sense of partisanship.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad that that is happening, but the effect of the department's administration of this had partisan implications, whether that was the intention of the department or not. And I want to talk about the other ceremonies. So let's talk about the Adelaide ceremony.
Well, you're not going to talk about more things because I've asked you to wrap up so I can share the call. So if you've got one more question, and then I'll share the call.
My question is about the Adelaide ceremonies. Which MPs were invited and on what dates?
Senator, for Adelaide, there were two ceremonies held in Adelaide on the same day, the Friday the 21st of February. Mr Steve Georgianis MP, the member for Adelaide, was invited on the 13th of February, and Senator the Honourable David Fawcett was invited on the 19th of February.
Thank you, Chair.
And for the sake of completeness, Chair, if you wouldn't mind, Ms Chatterjee does have some information about the ceremony held in Toowoomba, which demonstrates that there is no political conspiracy.
Okay. I'll just get that answer and then I'll share the call.
Senator, the member for Groom...
Being an LNP member.
The LNP member was invited on the 19th. There were three senators invited to Toowoomba. Senator McGrath, Senator Waters, Senator Larissa Waters and Senator Murray Watt on the 19th and the 24th of February.
Thank you. We'll come back to that when I have the call next.
Thanks very much.
I'm always grateful for correction, but it's not in a timely way that allows me to then ask the follow-up questions that I would have asked had I had that information.
I'm sorry, I gave it to you as soon as I had it,
I'm
Senator.
grateful. Okay. Ms Chatterjee, we'll need you again because I have further questions about citizenship ceremonies, please. Just while you're coming to the table, let's briefly recap your final answers about those two citizenship ceremonies in Adelaide and Toowoomba. You said that the local Labor MP, Steve Georgianis, was invited on the 13th of February, and that the Liberal Senator David Fawcett was invited on the 19th. Again, a 6-day gap between the invitations. When it comes to Toowoomba, you said that three senators were invited in addition to the local coalition MP, Garth Hamilton, and that they were all invited on the 19th, or perhaps one was invited on the 24th. Could you just clarify that?
Yes, Senator. And sorry, Senator, I also need to correct my earlier evidence that there were actually three ceremonies held in Adelaide, not two.
Okay.
just for the point of clarity. Senator Watt was invited on the 19th, and Senator Waters and Senator McGrath were invited on the 24th.
Okay.
For all citizenship ceremonies, senators invited by the department were invited on the 19th of February.
Right. So it just so happens that in the case of Toowoomba, a Labor senator was invited on the same day as the local MP, who was a coalition MP. But in all the other citizenship ceremonies we've talked about so far, if a coalition senator was invited, it was a significantly delayed period. In the case of Melbourne, 11 days after the local Labor MP was invited. Let's go to the Perth ceremony, please. Who was invited and on what dates?
For Perth, Senator, the Honourable Patrick Gorman MP, the member for Perth, was invited on the 13th of February, and Senator, the Honourable Linda Reynolds, was invited on the 19th of February.
So, again, significant delay before coalition senators invited. And Hobart?
For Hobart, the ceremony was held on Monday the 17th of February. The MP was Andrew Wilkie, MP, member for Clark, on the 11th, and Senator Billick, a senator for Tasmania, was invited on the 11th.
Right. Was any coalition senator invited to the Hobart ceremony?
Not that I can see,
Right,
Senator.
so-
The Hobart ceremony was run entirely by the department.
Yep.
The minister did not attend.
Yeah. So, again, we have a local independent MP in this case and a Labor senator invited on the same day. No delay for the Labor senator to be invited, and in this case, no coalition senator invited at all. So, in all of the instances of the citizenship ceremony, if a coalition senator was invited, it was a significant delay. But when Labor senators were invited, they were invited in a timely way. Can you account for that difference?
So, Senator, Ms Chatterjee has just indicated that, and I don't quite understand why the process worked this way, I'm trying to explore it, that with the exception, I think, of Tasmania, all of the senators were invited on the same day. And so as the venues were locked in and we knew where the venue was, the sitting member was invited, and then there was a process that did all the senators in a block. As I've said to you earlier, your questions have caused me to look at the process and to make sure that there can be no perception of partisanship. I can say unequivocally that there was no ministerial or ministerial office intervention or direction in either the selection of the senator or a direction to delay that. It was an administrative process which, in hindsight, was not
Sure. Well, let's
effective.
go to that question of the Minister's office choosing which senators were invited. I had understood from your evidence that it was the Minister's office that suggested that Senator Henderson be invited on the 24th to the event in Melbourne. Is that true?
So, Senator, I was referring to the
I know.
invitations but made
Initially
at the
by the
department's
department. Yes.
instigation in accordance with the code.
Yes, and
so-
subsequently the Minister directed, in two instances I'm aware of, that a coalition senator be invited. One was in Melbourne on the 24th for Sarah Henderson, and one was in Brisbane, and I can't read my notes here, but it was, somewhat delayed, and Senator McGrath in that instance. So in that instance, was it the Minister's office that chose the specific coalition senator to be invited?
Those senators were invited at the instigation of the Minister's office.
Okay.
My point, Senator, was that where the department was choosing,
I understand that.
there
your point.
was no direction.
I understand your point, and I'm now making a different point, which is that in the case, we heard earlier from Ms Chatterjee that one of the criteria on deciding which senator should be invited was proximity or locality. In the case of Senator Henderson, she's a Geelong-based senator, over 100 kilometres away from where the ceremony was held. There is a coalition senator whose office was 1.7 kilometres away, which is my office, who could have been invited and could have more easily attended, but wasn't. I note for the record, my office is also closer than Senator Hodgins-May's office to the venue. And in the case of the Queensland, the Brisbane event, the Minister directed that you invite James McGrath, whose office is based in Nambour, over 100 kilometres away, when Senator Scarr's office is located only 34 kilometres away and could have much more easily attended. So it does look to me like, whether it's an error by the department or an intervention by the Minister, that it was not by accident that it was difficult for coalition senators to attend these events.
So, Senator, when I referred to locality being a criterion, that was for the department's choice. I don't know on what basis the Minister or Minister's office selected the senators that they asked us to invite.
No, but it looks to me like they picked people who were further away than other senators from the same party who could have been more likely able to attend. If your criteria is pick the person closest, doesn't seem like you necessarily stick to that, but if that is your criteria, why shouldn't the Minister apply the same criteria?
Senator, that's obviously a question for the Minister.
Yeah.
I can't answer that.
Yeah, it is. I think it's pretty clear what has happened here. I've got to move on.